Good evening, everyone, and welcome for this Vajrasattva purification practice. Let us start by arriving on the cushion here at Tushita and in front of our device at home, leaving our worries of the day outside and trying to come in the present moment for this practice. We can do that by taking 3 deep breaths. Breathing slowly, deeply, so that the stomach rises and falls every time we inhale and exhale. When we inhale, we can try to refresh our attention. And when we exhale, we can try to relax. And now let us do a few minutes of calm abiding meditation, shamatha in Sanskrit. It is like a placement meditation, trying to use all of our concentration to be fully present for whatever we are doing. So when it comes to shamatha, there are 4 main instructions. The first one is to look at our body posture. Ideally, we sit on the floor. If you're sitting on a chair at home, it is perfectly fine. Just make sure you're not sitting against the support of the chair and not leaning forward either. If you're sitting on the floor, the ideal best is to sit in the full lotus posture. That means to have both feet on top of the opposite leg. That might be a little bit challenging, so make sure you're comfortable. Make sure you're not pushing your body. You can simply sit cross-legged or in a half lotus, or the way they sit in Myanmar with one leg in front of the other. You can place your hands traditionally in the concentration mudra with the right hand on top of the left. Your 2 thumbs are slightly touching, and this rests in your lap, allowing some space between your arms and your body for the air to flow. The body is upright. The back is straight but not stiff. You can imagine there is like a string pulling from the crown of your head, keeping your body upright. But at the same time, your shoulders are even and relaxed. Your arms are relaxed. You can easily turn from left to right. The body should not be stiff. The neck is aligned in the continuation of the spine. You can very gently tilt the head forward, not too much. You can place your tongue just behind your upper teeth, towards the upper palate. This helps to reduce the production of saliva while you meditate. Finally, we don't meditate with the eyes completely closed. We leave them slightly opened. This helps in many ways, and one of them is that it allows some light to enter, which helps keeping us alert while we meditate. This posture is known as the Buddha Vairochana, 7-point meditation posture. And out of these 7 points, the most important is for the body to be upright, for the back to be straight. So this was the first instruction of the 4, the body posture. Now the second is the object of meditation. What are we actually meditating on? If this is new for you, what I would suggest is to use the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils as an object of meditation. Try to place all your attention, all your focus at the entrance of the nostrils, and more specifically the feeling, the sensation when you breathe in and out in that area. Perhaps when you breathe in, you feel it's a little bit cooler. When you breathe out, a little bit warmer. Try to focus on the sensation, on the feeling. Now the third instruction is that when we meditate, we tend to get distracted. And the 2 main ways we get distracted are called mental excitement and mental laxity. Mental excitement, basically we are distracted with thoughts, mostly thinking about the past or the future, our plans for dinner or something that happened this afternoon that is still, in our mind. And therefore we lose our object of meditation. We are thinking about something that happened or that will happen, and therefore we are not focusing on our object of meditation. The second way we tend to get distracted is with mental laxity, or dullness, or lethargy. Basically, we are not putting enough application in our meditation, and the mind starts to sink. We tend to fall asleep, or we start daydreaming, and therefore we also lose the object of meditation. We are not focused on whatever object we are trying to meditate on anymore. So the fourth and final instruction is good news, is that there are two antidotes that we can use to counteract these two ways we tend to get distracted. These antidotes are called introspection and mindfulness. Introspection, you can imagine it is like an agent in the background of your mind that is checking, what is my mind doing? Is it meditating or is it distracted with excitement or with laxity? And the moment this introspection notices that the mind is not focused, is not meditating, then we make use of the second antidote, which is mindfulness. And the role of mindfulness is to bring the mind back, wherever it is, to bring it back onto the object of meditation, making sure it remains there. I always use the analogy, if you have a pet dog at home, imagine the dog runs away, introspection will notice that the dog is gone, mindfulness brings the dog back home, and you can also even, imagine tying him against a pillar at home so that he remains there. It's a little bit similar to what we are trying to do with our mind. Let us try to do this practice for 5 minutes, trying to focus single-pointedly on this breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils, while being alert, vigilant, checking in the background with introspection, am I meditating or am I distracted? And every time I notice that I am distracted, with mindfulness, I come back to the object. 5 minutes. gently come out of the meditation. Now that our minds are hopefully a bit more focused, let us generate a good intention, a good motivation for this session, for this Vajrasattva purification practice. So of course most of us, why we come here is because we have heard that during the practice of Vajrasattva, reciting the 100-syllable mantra, doing the visualizations, applying the 4 opponent powers in the context of Vajrasattva can, purify the negativities we have accumulated in the past, the negative karmas, so that we don't experience the suffering results of the negative karmas we have accumulated. So we don't experience the results of these karmas in the future. So of course this motivation is already something, wishing not to experience suffering in the future. But let us try to enlarge this motivation, to have a vast motivation. Not only not wanting to experience suffering in the future, in this life, but also in all future lives. Not only for ourselves, but for all beings. Trying to generate a sense of compassion, so that all beings be free from suffering. And when we say all beings, it does include ourselves. May all beings be free from suffering and all the causes of suffering. Now when we talk about the causes of suffering, in general we talk about the karma and the afflictions. The direct cause of our suffering, the pain that we experience, the unpleasant things that happen to us, the direct cause for that is the negative karma we have accumulated in the past. It's simply cause and effect. Now, why do we accumulate those karmas? It's because of our mental afflictions, our disturbing emotions, our negative emotions, such as anger, excessive desire, jealousy, pride, and so on and so forth. And why do we have these mental afflictions? In fact, they are rooted, the main of these afflictions, the root of all these afflictions, which is the root of all our problems, is because we have what is called self-grasping ignorance. We are grasping at an inherent existence. We are grasping at an independent existence. We have a sense of a very solid, truly real, objective I, and a truly existing, solidly real phenomena that we are interacting with. The screen in front of us, the place where we are sitting, we apprehend all of this as existing very solidly, out there, in and of themselves, independently from our minds. As if from the side of the object, from the side of the self, from the side of the screen, the cushion, there is something there in essence, some inherence there, some objective existence there. And because of that, we have a very strong sense of I, me, myself. And this gives rise to what is called the inappropriate attention. We have the impression that we are the center of the universe, that everything revolves around us. And therefore we want to make this I happy. We want to cherish this I. So all these afflictions I was talking about come along. Attachment, desire, anger, jealousy, pride, and so forth. To cherish that I. And because of these afflictions, we engage in negative actions such as killing, stealing, lying, cheating, and so forth. These are negative karmas that inevitably result in suffering. Or even the good actions that we do, such as helping others, practicing generosity, because they are tainted, because they are polluted by this grasping at inherent existence. Even these good actions that we do, even though they are good, they are virtuous, they are contaminated by that self-grasping. And because of that, the result, yes, is a pleasant experience. For example, if it's cold where you are and you have a heater on, just to experience the feeling of that heater is the result of a positive action you have accumulated in the past. But this is happening within cyclic existence, within samsara, meaning we don't have a control. We don't have much control over our experiences. All of a sudden, there might be a power cut. No more heating or cooling, depending where you are. Similarly, all of a sudden a neighbor might come, knock at the door and offer us some sweets. We don't have a control. We cannot even choose tonight when we go to sleep what dream we will be having. So this lack of control, this lack of choice is actually the misery of what samsara is. So let us try to generate a sense of compassion for all selves and all sentient beings, wishing all beings to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering that we just explained. It can help to think of people who are experiencing very acute sufferings around you. You can think of the people living in the streets. You can think of people who are having acute sicknesses in hospitals. You can think of the people who are living in countries at war. You can think of animals that are mistreated, for example, in the meat industry and so forth. Try to generate a sense of compassion, wishing for all beings to be happy, wishing for all beings to be free from any kind of pain, any kind of misery. And let us try to take that wish even further, to expand it by generating a sense of responsibility, recognizing that at the present moment we have an incredible fortune to be born as a human, not only being born as a human, but in a world where the teachings of the Buddha are available. The Buddha came and taught. His teachings are still widely spread. There are many followers of the Buddha and many people who support the followers of the Buddha. Not only that, we are born human with all our mental, physical capacities to be able to hear the teachings of the Buddha and contemplate on them and meditate on them and transform our mind. Not only that, we are interested. We are interested to look at our minds, to transform our minds. We recognize that we have the afflictions, we want to eliminate them. having all these opportunities is extremely rare. It is called the precious human rebirth. We can see on this planet there are about 8.2 billion human beings at the moment, I believe. How many are actually trying to look at their minds? How many are interested to listen to the teachings of the Buddha and trying to apply them? Very, very few. So this illustrates how rare it is. And then of course not even speaking about non-humans, such as animals. They don't even have the capacity to understand the teachings of the Buddha, let alone contemplate and meditate on them. So let us try to generate a sense of responsibility. Not only wishing for all sentient beings to be free from suffering, but making the commitment that because I have this precious human rebirth, because I have this rare opportunity, I myself will free all beings from suffering and the causes of suffering. Try to give rise to this altruistic mind, taking responsibility for others who don't have the chance that you have at the moment. Now, how can I do that? How can I free all beings from suffering? I myself am trapped in samsara, taking rebirth again and again and again because of karma and afflictions without any control. If we look in the history of humanity, there was one being called Prince Siddhartha who showed the example. By repeatedly meditating on the middle way, the emptiness of objective existence of all phenomena, we can gradually eliminate all our mental veils, all our afflictions, as well as all our cognitive veils, and achieve the state of full awakening, the state of a Buddha. In order to guide sentient beings, to teach sentient beings, to lead them to unsurpassed awakening, unmistakenly. Let us try to generate the wish. Let us try to give rise to this most beautiful mind that is called bodhicitta, the awakening mind, by wishing, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. May I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. May I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. And with this motivation in mind, let us turn to the Vajrasattva practice. Here at Tushita you have it in front of you, and online I will share my screen. I will try. I think it works, right? You can see the screen. So we can turn to page number 5. Starting with visualizing, imagining that seated next to you, on your right side is your father, on your left side is your mother. Your enemies and the sentient beings who disturb you are seated in front of you. Your friends and those to whom you are attached are seated behind you. Then all other sentient beings, all the so-called neutral beings, those that you haven't met or that you don't know. Try to visualize as vastly as you can. They're all surrounding you in a human form. Try to visualize as vast as you can, as if you are leading all sentient beings into this practice. Then in the space in front of you, visualize the Buddha. There are two ways of doing this. You can do the elaborate visualization with the method and wisdom lineages, with the Buddha Shakyamuni in the middle, Arya Maitreya representing the method lineage on one side, Arya Manjushri representing the wisdom lineage on the other side. All the lineage Buddhas, your own teachers in front of the Buddha, all the protectors, guardians, Dakas, Dakinis, deities, and so forth. So this is the elaborate visualization, or you can simply visualize the Buddha Shakyamuni and imagining that all the innumerable Buddhas are embodied into him. And then let us recite together the verse at the bottom of the page, thinking that we are taking refuge and generating bodhicitta together with all sentient beings, as if we were guiding them into this practice. We can recite once in English to familiarize ourselves with the meaning, and then we can chant twice in Tibetan. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. Sangye chedan zoge jognam la janjo bhardo dagne gyabzoi che dage jinsoi gibe zognam ki jola penjir sangye jubar sho. Sangye chedan zoge jognam la janjo bhardo dagne gyabzoi che dage jinsoi gibe zognam ki Jola Penjir Sangye Jobarai Shoho. Then page 6. We'll apply the 4 opponent powers, and the first one is the power of regret. So here the sadhana says, first recall the definition of negative karma. Any action that results in suffering. Generally, this is an action motivated by ignorance, attachment, or anger. Almost every action I do 24 hours a day is motivated by worldly concern attached to the happiness of this life. It has been like that from beginningless samsaric rebirth, and it is like this from birth to death in this life. Nearly every action I have created has been non-virtuous, the cause of suffering. Not only that, but I have also continuously been breaking my pratimoksha, bodhisattva, and tantric vows. Worst of all, I have created the heaviest of negative karmas in relation to my virtuous friends, by harming the holy bodies, disobeying their advice, disturbing the holy minds, having non-devotional thoughts, and giving rise to heresy and anger. Having all these negative imprints on my mental continuum is unbearable. It is as if I have swallowed a lethal poison. Therefore, I must purify all these negative karmas immediately with the antidote of the 4 powers. So in this way, try to generate a strong feeling of regret, together with the awareness of the need to urgently purify your negative karmas. Now, what we mean here by regret is a healthy sense of regret, nothing to do with guilt. Guilt doesn't serve any purpose. Here, the regret we are talking about is the wish not to experience suffering in the future, not to experience the suffering results of the negative karmas we have accumulated in the past. Many people my age or younger have died. It is a miracle that I am still alive and have this incredible opportunity to purify my negative karmas. Death is certain, but the time of death is totally uncertain. If I were to die right now, I would definitely be reborn in the lower realms. Because I could not practice Dharma there, I would remain in the lower realms for countless eons. Therefore, how unbelievably fortunate I am to be able to purify my negative karmas right now, without even a second's delay, by practicing the Vajrasattva meditation. But I'm not practicing this Vajrasattva purification for myself alone. The purpose of my life is to free all hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, human beings, asuras, suras, and intermediate state beings from all their suffering and its causes, and lead them to the peerless happiness of enlightenment. In order to do this, I must first reach enlightenment myself. Therefore, I must purify all my negative karmas immediately by practicing this Vajrasattva meditation. So this is strengthening, our motivation, why we are doing this practice. Now let us do the actual practice, which starts with visualizing Vajrasattva. So you can imagine above the crown of your head, there is a beautiful white lotus. Actually a pink lotus, on which there is a white moon disk on top of the lotus flower. And seated on the moon disk is Vajrasattva. His body also is white. He has one face and two arms. In his right hand he holds a Vajra, and in his left hand he holds a bell. His left hand rests on his left knee, and the right hand with the Vajra is in front of his heart. He is adorned with 6 mudras, and he sits in the Vajra posture. Vajrasattva is my root guru, the holy mind of all the Buddhas, the Dharmakaya. Out of unbearable compassion, encompassing me and all sentient beings, my root guru appears in this form to purify me and all sentient beings. Try to visualize as best as you can Vajrasattva above the crown of your head, about 6 inches tall, sitting on a beautiful lotus flower on which there is a moon disk. White moon disk. Vajrasattva is sitting on that moon disk. His body is made of a beautiful, radiant white light. His body is like made of light, not made of flesh. So he's hollow, radiating blue light. White, pure, beautiful light. Then let us turn to page 8 for the actual power of remedy, the recitation of the mantra. While we are reciting the mantra, try to maintain as best as you can the visualization of Vajrasattva above the crown of your head, and visualizing that at his heart, at the heart of Vajrasattva, there is again a moon disk on which stands a hum syllable, and around that hum syllable, the whole 100-syllable mantra is there. It says here, in the center of the moon disk at Vajrasattva's heart stands a hum, and this hum is encircled by a garland of the 100-syllable mantra. While we recite the mantra, visualize that a powerful stream of white nectar flows from the hum and mantra garland, entering the crown of my head and filling my entire body. All my negative karmas, obscurations, sicknesses, and spirit harms are completely purified. Let us recite the mantra for about 15 minutes while maintaining this visualization. You can also try, if you can, while you're visualizing the white nectar flowing from the mantra garland at Vajrasattva's heart entering your body. You can also try to meditate on bodhicitta and emptiness, or you can meditate on regret, trying to remain focused on the practice, not just reciting, the syllables of the mantra and then thinking about dinner or something. Let us try as best as we can for about 15 minutes. So we'll recite once together, and then we'll recite in silence at our own pace, because you have different speeds, of course, and for some people this mantra is new, so you also have to read it while you recite it. So about 15 minutes. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubharaya Vajrasattva Dvenoba Tishtadrido Me Bhava Sudoshayo Me Bhava Suboshayo Me Bhava Anuragdo Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayacha Sarva Karma Sucha Me Chidam Shriyam Guruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajra Mame Muncha Vajra Bhava Maha Samaya Sattva Ahom Be. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dvenoba Didarido Me Bhava Sudojayo Me Bhava Subhajayo Me Bhava Anurakto Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayacha Sarva Karma Suchame Chidam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajra Mame Munja Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahom Bhe. And then we can read together at the middle of page 8. Through ignorance and delusion, I have broken and degenerated my commitments. Guru, be my savior and refuge. Lord, holder of the Vajra, endowed with great compassion, in you, the foremost of beings, I take refuge. And then, applying the fourth opponent power, the power of restraint, making a pledge, making a commitment to refrain from creating negative actions in the future. So we can recite this line, making a promise to Vajrasattva to refrain from, committing negative actions that are easy to avoid. For example, killing a human being, that is quite easy to avoid. So we can make a promise that we will not engage in such an action. Then we can, if we have a strong tendency to lie, for example, then we can make a realistic pledge, a realistic commitment that, for example, for the next 10 minutes, I will not say lies, just to create the habit in our mind, the good habit, not to lie. And I can assure you for the next 10 minutes, we will be meditating, so we will not be telling lies. So yeah, that would be a realistic commitment. And this is just an example. There are many, negative actions you can think of: killing, stealing, lying, being harsh speech, divisive speech, and so on and so forth. You can try to make pledges and commitments. Or if you have like a strong tendency to get angry, you can promise for the next 10 minutes I will not get angry. Or if you have a strong tendency to drink alcohol or take drugs, something like that, you can make a realistic commitment. And we can read together at the bottom of the page and then mentally make the pledge. Before Guru Vajrasattva, I vow never again to commit those negative actions from which I can easily abstain. And I vow not to commit those negative actions from which I find it difficult to abstain for, and then mention how long you can realistically refrain from doing these negative actions. Then we can turn to page 9. And imagining that from the crown of my head, Guru Vajrasattva says, "Child of the lineage, your negative karmas, obscurations, and broken and degenerated samayas have been completely purified." Try to generate a very strong faith that everything has been completely purified, just as Guru Vajrasattva has said. And try to see how lighter you feel without, all this weight of the heavy negative karmas you have accumulated in the past. All of that is completely gone. Then visualize that Guru Vajrasattva is extremely pleased with the pledge you have made, with your promise. And visualize that he melts into light. And that light absorbs into you. It enters through the crown of your head and enters into you. And then your body, your speech, and your mind become inseparably one with the holy body, speech and mind of Guru Vajrasattva. Imagine what it would be like to have the body, speech and mind of a Buddha. The mind so vast, constantly thinking of benefiting countless beings. Seeing the emptiness of objective existence of all phenomena, simultaneously, continuously. Imagine the bliss of experiencing that. And in that absorption, meditate that in emptiness of objective existence, there is no I. The I, which is the creator of negative karma. In emptiness, it doesn't exist. It is empty of existing objectively. In emptiness, there is also no action of creating negative karma. And there is no negative karma created. Try to place your mind in that emptiness for a little while, looking in this way at yourself and all phenomena as being empty, meaning that they don't exist from their own side. And with this awareness of emptiness, let us dedicate the merits we have accumulated by engaging in this practice, as well as all the merits of the 3 times that we have accumulated and all beings have accumulated, all Buddhas have accumulated. First, to actualize bodhicitta. Again, we can read the English to know the meaning and then chant it in Tibetan. May the precious supreme bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that the reason not decline but increase more and more. Josem Jorim Boche Magye Banam Gyerachi Kembanyam Bamembaye Gone Gondo Bewarajo. On page 10, for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Jing Teng Kam Dir Pen De Ma Lu Pa Ga Le Jong San Pe Li Je No Kadrin Zo Me Tenzin Gyatso Chor Ko Tse Tenji To Je Lun Roi Shou. And then towards the bottom of the page, to seal the merits with emptiness, due to all the past, present and future merits collected by me, the numberless Buddhas and the numberless sentient beings, which are completely empty of existing from their own side, may I, who am completely empty of existing from my own side, achieve the state of Vajrasattva, which is completely empty of existing from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are completely empty of existing from their own side to that state of Vajrasattva, which is completely empty of existing from its own side, by myself alone, who am completely empty of existing from my own side. And then these 2 verses to dedicate in the same way as all the past Buddhas and Bodhisattvas did. So we can read the 2 verses in English first and then chant the 2 verses in Tibetan. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows reality, and just like Samantha Bajra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by the all gone beyond victorious ones of the 3 times, in order to have good conduct. Jambe bawe jida gemba don gunde zombo de yande jinde de da kenge jezo da loje gewa de da hamje rabdu ngo de som jebe gewa hamje ki ngo ngon la jo du ngamba de dagi gewe zawa de ke kyan zombo je je rabdu ngo wa ngi. Then we'll turn to the swift return prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. That's the other booklet you have there, and I'll share the screen online. So I guess most of you know, but because we have some new people, I will also explain. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you have a photo here together with His Holiness the Dalai Lama on the right side. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he founded Tushita here, but also in Dharamshala and Kopan Monastery in Kathmandu, and in total around 130 centers and projects and services around the world, some in the States as well. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche, almost 2 years ago, in April 23, he showed the aspect of passing away. And so you might know, in the Tibetan culture, there's the tradition of looking for the reincarnation of such enlightened masters. For example, the Dalai Lama is known as the 14th Dalai Lama, the 14th reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. So ever since Rinpoche took, the aspect of passing away, we are praying for him to come back and continue, to teach and guide his disciples and also lead the organization. 130 centers around the world, that's quite a big responsibility. So we're hoping Rinpoche comes back. And the prayer we'll recite was actually composed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Just a few days after Rinpoche took the aspect of passing away, His Holiness composed his prayer for us to recite. So that's the first one in the booklet. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyekya Buddhas, victorious law song father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make requests. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you just suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Let us also dedicate whatever merits we have accumulated in this session, as well as all the merits we and all sentient beings have accumulated in the 3 times, as well as all the merits of the Buddhas of the 3 times, so that the wars that are happening around the world immediately come to an end. May there be no new war. May there be no famine. May there be no epidemic. May there be no financial catastrophe, like financial crisis. May there be no disasters of the elements and natural catastrophes. And may peace and happiness prevail in everybody's hearts and lives. Thank you very much for joining this evening. And we'll see you as usual every morning, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. for our online guided meditation. Tomorrow evening also we have an online session, online debate class at 6:30 p.m. Then on Saturday we have Venerable Tenzin Lamdran, who is a Brazilian nun who is studying in Dharamshala to become a Geshe. Geshe is the equivalent of like a PhD, in Buddhist philosophy. And it takes at least 17 to 20 years of study, so it's quite a big commitment. And yeah, most of the, monastics who engage in such studies are Himalayan. So she's an exception, one of the exceptions, as a Brazilian living with Tibetan nuns in a nunnery there in Dharamshala. So she will come and give us a talk how that is like. She's already in her 9th or 10th year there in the nunnery. So that's on Saturday at 5 p.m. here in person as well as online. Then on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. we have Venerable Geshe Lhagdor, who is the director of the Tibetan Library in Dharamshala, who is, very renowned as a very eloquent teacher, one of the rare, Tibetan lamas to speak in English and teach in English. And he will talk on Sunday morning about how to create a harmony between our head and our heart. So this is Sunday, 11:30 a.m., online and in person both. So see you then and have a good evening. See you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.